Hello and welcome to another video. In this video, we are going to learn about the useEffect hook in React. React has many hooks and useEffect is one of them, and is a very widely used hook in React. So I have a project setup here. Basically, I'm using a Next.js setup, but Next.js is a superset of, you can say, React. Next.js is a framework and React is a library. So let's see how useEffect works. So I'm going to erase this code initially. Let's do this from the start. Let me erase the states as well. So I have this component. I have this Next.js setup here. So what I'm doing is I have these links. When I click on the home link, directed to home page, about, and contact, and so on. So what we are going to do is the main where the link on which we will be working on is about. So here I'm rendering, this is my about page, and inside this I'm rendering a React component that's test. So whenever I'm switching from any other link to this about link, this component is rendered here. So we're going to see how useEffect runs when a component re-renders or is taken off the DOM. So let's see. So our main component that would be working on is this test component. So I have this components folder here, or inside this I have created this test component. So this is a React component. So let me write the useEffect hook here. The useEffect hook takes a callback function as a first parameter. It takes two parameters, a function and an array, dependency array. So let me write this function, and it takes an array. The array could be empty, or this entire param we cannot set this. We can also pass it only one parameter, that's the function. We can pass an empty array, or we can pass an array with dependencies in it. So let's see. If I write a log here, log console.log inside useEffect. So let's see inside our console. Let me zoom this out, zoom this in. Inspect console. So if I click on the links, when I click on home, so the home page is rendered. We are concerned about this about link. So when we click on this about link, our test component will be rendered. So when I click it, you can see inside useEffect is being logged. So this is logged twice because of the strict mode that is used in the development environment. So if I log something outside the use effect. Let's log it above the use effect, outside use effect and above use effect. Let me write here above, above, above use, above use effect, and another log down here below use effect. Let me refresh this again. So you can see the above use effect is rendered first. So we can say yes, uh, that's logical because above use effect is above the use effect. The code is always run sequentially. So this is common sense. We can say that this log will be rendered first. But there's a catch. If you can see, the second log we see here is below use effect, and both of these are rendered second time because of the strict mode. But as you can see, above use effect is rendered first, below use effect is logged first, logged second, and anything inside the use effect is logged last. So that's how the use effect works. So it loads everything that's on the page, and the use effect is ran last. So let's see what the dependency array does to the use effect. So if I put a dependency array here and go to the console again, let me clear this. If I refresh, the component is rendered again, and you can see there is no change. But if anything, what is a state? Let's define let's define what a state is. If anything on, let's say there is a text, this is a test component. If this is in this state, the text rendered here is this is a test component, and a button is rendered below it, test. If something, text or any other, the background color or anything in this page changes, we can say the state of that page has changed. Let's take the color for example. If the color changed from this red color to something else, let's say black color, we say the state has changed from a red color to black. The state of this page, the initial state of this page was it had a background of red color, and now it has a background of black color. That means its state had changed. No doubt some other components may be the same, but some of them have changed. That means the state of this component has changed. So let's create a state here using the useState hook. React, let's say const. Let's give a generic name state. Set state, or we can say heading. Let's call it heading, set heading. Use state. Let's put the default value that we're rendering here, and let's render the heading here. So as you can see, you won't notice any difference here. So we have a heading. This is a test component. So on this button, let's put an on click listener. On click listener, and set heading to something else. Let's say heading changed. Let's render another button. First of all, let's work with this button. So we have this this state here. We have a red background. We have this text saying this is a test component, and we have a button here, test. And initially, when we render this page, test component, this is the whole of this thing with the red background, the heading, the button. This is our test component. Let me give it a border. And let's. This is confusing. Button text here. Let me give this a border as well. Border. Let's say green. 500. Border width. Border width of 2. It's not quite visible. Let's give 4. Let's give it a margin to make it 4. No, it has messed up the styling. Let's give it a border of 8. Okay, as you can see, anything inside of these green border is our component. So this is the state of our component with a green border, a red background, a white heading, and a button saying click. So when I click on this, initially when I render this component, so let's say I go to home and then I click on about again. So this our component is rendered. So as you can see, we have this above user effect logging, then below use effect, inside use effect. So anything inside the use effect is logged last. But and I have put a empty dependency array here. So let's see the effect of this array, effect of the second argument, empty array, on the use effect when the state changes. So when I click on this button, what would happen is on click, the value inside this heading would be changed to heading changed. So let's click on this. As you can see, the heading changed, but take a look on the left hand side. You can see this. Let me render this again. Sorry. About, so we have me. So we have above use effect, below use effect, and the initial state. This is our initial state. Let me clear this console before clicking the button. Now when I click on the button, you can see above use effect, below use effect, above use effect, below use effect. The log inside the use effect is not being logged. Anything inside the use effect is not being logged in the console. Why is that? Because what this empty dependency array does is it means anything inside the use effect will run only once on the initial load. So if you can see, if I switch to home, and when I click on the about, our component will be our component is being this is the state of our component. Let's say this is the state of, if I click on the home, our component would be taken off from the DOM. It won't be visible again. So when I click on home, our component is taken off. When I click on the about again, our component will be re-rendered. Our component will be rendered for the first time now. So when I click on about, let's see, when I click on about, I can see the inside useEffect log being logged here. So this means anything that was inside the useEffect is being rendered on the initial render. But when I change the state, only the outside useEffect logs are being logged. Anything inside the useEffect is not being run. That means if I put an empty dependency array inside the useEffect, the code inside the useEffect will be run only once. But if I don't put the dependency array at all, let me click create another button here to show you. Let me give this a name of increment. And create another state. Let's say const count, comma set count, let's use state. So count const. Let me give this an initial value of 0, and let me render this below this h1. Let's give it h3 and render the count here. Let me copy the styling as well and give it to Excel. What's my bold text? Indigo 500. Let's see now. So I have this. Let me give this a bigger font size. Let's say 6XL. Now we have this big number entering here, big 0. Let me connect this count with this increment. So when I click on this, set count plus 1. So if I click on increment, you can see the count is changing. So let's see. Let's come back to the useEffect. So I have erased the dependency array of the useEffect. That's the second argument that useEffect takes. I have erased that. So we have a useEffect with no dependency array. So let's see what will happen. When the component is mounted again, so the logs outside of the useEffect are here, and the logs inside of the useEffect is also here. So when I click on increment, so anything inside the useEffect is also rendered on the second render as well, third, fourth. So if I don't put a dependency array inside our use effect, the code every and the code inside the use effect will run every time the component re-renders. So what a state does is, uh, when the state of this component changes, the component is re-rendered, and everything inside the use effect is re-rendered as well if the use effect does not have a dependency array. So um, let me put a dependency array, empty dependency array inside this use effect. So we have an empty dependency array here. So if I the component is unmounted, so if I click on about again, the component is mounted again. Let me erase this. Unmounted, mounted again. So we have the code inside the use effect is rendering because this is the initial render. But if the state changes with an empty dependency array, let's see what happens. Only the logs outside the use effect, above, and below, are rendering here, are being logged here. Sorry, are being logged. So no matter how many times I change the state now, the code inside the use effect is not running. That's what happens when we put an empty dependency array in the use effect. But what if we put something inside the dependency array? So let's say we put the count. So what happens is, if anything that I put in, let's say a variable, I put a variable in the dependency array, every time the variable changes, the code inside the use effect will run. So let's see. Unmounted, mounted. So this is the click is another state. It is not linked to the use effect. Erase this. Unmount, mounted, running. So this click button is not linked to the use effect. So if I click on this button, the code inside the use effect is not running because it's not connected to our use effect. The variable, the state that is connected to our use effect is the count. So let's see, when I change the count, what happens to the code inside the use effect. So if I click on increment, yeah, you can see the code inside the use effect is running again. So if I put something in the dependency array, if that thing changes, the code inside the use effect will change again. So this was all about the dependency arrays. The use effect also provides us a cleanup function. So if I put a return here, I'll return an arrow function, and I'll put an alert here, unmounted. I can put a log also as well. Console.log. So let's see. What this unmounted, what this cleanup function does is, when the component, when the component is taken off the screen, when the component is unmounted, whatever you want to do, you can do with the help of this cleanup function. In simple terms, you can say, if you want to do something when the component is mounted, you can do via this cleanup function. Let's say I want to log when the component is taken off the screen, I want to log unmounted. So let's see. If I click on home link, the component will be unmounted. uh, I should see a log here of unmounted. Let's see what happens. Okay, you can see unmounted. The second. So on the initial render, let me refresh the page. So this is the initial render. But the unmounted log is being logged on the initial render as well, because of the strict mode when using the development environment. uh, mm, what React does is it it mounts and unmounts, unmounts and mounts the component again 3 times. It mounts the component, unmounts the component, and it mounts the component again. This is only happening in the strict mode, not in the production environment. So now if I take the component off the screen, I should see unmounted logging here. So if I click on home, you can see unmounted. So that was all about use effect. So what use effect does is use effect takes two arguments, a callback function and a dependency array. If we don't put a dependency array in the use effect, everything inside the use effect would run on every render. If we put an empty dependency array inside the use effect, the code inside the use effect will run only once on the initial render. But if we put something in the dependency array that changes, every time that thing changes, the code inside the use effect will run. Use effect also provides us this cleanup function. So if we want to do anything when the component unmounts, then we can do that with the help of this function. So that's all use effect provides us. Thank you.